Good morning and welcome to Scottish Women in Business's July panel event. So we are going with the subject Inspired Confidence today. So we have a whole quarter with Scottish Women in Business that is all around inspiration and motivation, and we thought we'd kick this off this month with a panel of women in all different sectors. We've got entrepreneurs, social enterprises, third sector, tourism, hospitality, medical backgrounds. So we have a whole array of women around the table, and it's all women that have inspired myself or people through the SWIB committee. We all put our heads together and came up with this lovely selection of women you see in front of you. So what everyone here has in common is they're all successful and inspirational in their own fields, and they all will have to delve deep to inspire others and inspire confidence in others through their roles. So that is what's brought about the subject for today's panel as well. So we have 1 hour. Anyone that's watching on Facebook, please do put any comments or questions. I'm just going to make sure that I can see you all live on Facebook just now. Put any comments or questions that you have throughout this into the comments box, and I will try and ask your questions to the panel as well. So this is really informal. I do have some questions I'm going to throw at the panel members, but it is an open conversation. So if you want to, put your little bit in as well in a conversation we're having, again, stick it in the comments and I'll add that in as well. So first of all, let's open up the panel by asking everybody to introduce themselves. So I'm just going to go left to right that I have in my screen. So Jo, we're going to start with you.
Hi everyone, I'm Jo De Silva, and my day job is I'm co-owner and director of McGregor's Bars and Hospitality. We have 3 venues up here in the Highlands. We most recently won Best Bar and Pub in Scotland. Second time we've won that, and we're really fortunate that we've been recognised across the industry as a leader in tourism and hospitality. My other sins, I am chair of Visit Inverness Loch Ness. I'm part of the Highlands and Islands Tourism Awards board, and in my spare time, I also help out with 161 Squadron ATC, which my son's part of. So I'm chair of the board there as well. So I'm delighted to be here, and what a wonderful introduction.
Oh, amazing. Thank you, Jo. And thank you for giving up some more time to come on. That is a lot of things on your list. Jill, over to you.
Hi there, my name is Jill Baird. I own Cosmedicare in St Helens Hospital. We were founded in 2016 and currently have 2 private hospitals, one overnight and one day case, recently opened in Suckyhall Street in Glasgow, which is where I am today. We also have a surgical centre in Edinburgh Park in Edinburgh as well. We deal with everything. We're probably most commonly known for cosmetic surgery, but we do other surgeries as well, including reconstructive surgery, orthopaedic surgery, general surgery, and weight loss surgery too.
Amazing. Thank you, Jill. Danielle.
Hello. I'm already excited about these other women because I haven't met them all yet. Especially because I am currently living in Edinburgh, but about to move to Findhorn, Jo, so I'm going to be near you in no time. So I'm Danielle. I'm co-founder of a business called Remarkable Women, which has been going for 7 years. Prior to that, I had a big corporate life, customer service director of a very well-known company that you would all know and love or hate. Our work is about showing women another way. It's essentially around helping everybody to see there's more than one way to do things, and that you can get lost in the way you think things have to be done in terms of how you manage your mind and how the actions you choose to take. And so, yeah, this is a fun topic for me. So thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, thank you, Danielle. Lee.
Yeah, good morning. Hi, thanks for having me today. My name's Lee Walls. My business is Firewalk Scotland. I have been a firewalk instructor since 2006, so I've been doing this for a very long time. I teach people to walk on fire, broken glass, break arrows on their necks, border breaks, high impact confidence building. It can be confidence building, fundraising, team building. Sometimes it's all 3. cover all of Scotland and occasionally elsewhere. And I lift weights and I'm really into wild swimming.
Amazingly. And anyone who's interested in that, watch this space for a SWIB event coming up soon. Zara.
Hi, I'm Zara. I actually went on one of Danielle's programmes and I'm going to a retreat that she's organising at the end of the year. So we do know each other and it was pretty transformative actually. So I'm a CEO of a charity called Winning Scotland and our mission is to help children and young people become more confident and resilient. I'm on the board of a charity called SACRO, which is interested in community justice and making people feel safer in their communities, whether they've been victims of crime or whether they are perpetrators. I mentor with MCR Pathways and something I often share when I'm in groups with women is that I am divorced. I live in Shawlands with my daughter, who is 7, and I, about 6 months ago, started fostering a 16-year-old asylum seeker.
Oh, wow, amazing. And finally, Bayile.
Hi, I'm Bayile Adeoti. I'm the founder of Dechomai, a social enterprise that stimulates entrepreneurship in minority communities. I'm also the current president of Scottish Women in Business, and I'm a Young Enterprise Alumni Board Member, but also a Young Enterprise Business Advisor.
Amazing. Thank you, Bayile. Wow, what a selection of women around the table. So to give you a quick introduction, my name's Heather. I run a company called One for Growth, and we do marketing consultancy with people predominantly through Scotland, but England as well. I'm on the SWIB Committee, hence being your host today, along with Bayile, and I am also a trustee for Glasgow Care Foundation and recently just started helping out with the court for University of Highlands and Islands, which Joe, I know you were involved with previously before. So let's get started. You're all in very senior roles, which means naturally you are relied upon to motivate those around you in all your different areas. However, let's go back a step. Let's go back to your early careers. And what or who inspired you and motivated you? This could be a boss, family member, or someone in the public eye. What got you as a young person going up the ladder? Who inspired you? So I'm just going to pick at random, Jill, for you to start this one off.
Oh, I've told this story before in probably every interview that I've done, and it never really changes. My foundational inspiration and person that inspired confidence in me was my grandmother. Her name was Ellen, and our hospitals are named after her in her honour. And I think really everybody needs a granny like this in their life. I know many people will talk about maybe well-known figures, people in the media that are their inspiration. But for me, it was always my grandmother from a very early age. She taught me that anything is possible if you put your mind to it and you work hard enough at it, and if you're willing to be resilient, which is funnily enough something that Zara mentioned when she was talking about one of the roles that she has. The ability to be confident in yourself, know your limitations and bounce back from setbacks as well. So definitely my grandmother.
Oh, that's fantastic, because actually quite often your family's not always the one that is there to inspire you from early on.
And
so
they can actually sometimes be the ones that are trying to talk you out of going down a certain route.
Yeah.
When I was going to start Medicare, I'd previously worked for the NHS and was in quite a senior role there. And my mother, she was so proud that I had this job within the public sector. And she was saying, oh, you're going to risk all of this, and look at how comfortable you are. You've got your house and your car. And I was a single parent. I'm still a single parent at that time. My child was at the age of 10 probably. And it just seemed a big risk to my mother. She's 100% behind me now, and she's always supported me in everything that I've wanted to do. But sometimes your family can be the ones putting that wee bit of doubt in your head as well. So it's about keeping good relations with them and keeping them all on board with the confidence that you're going to be okay, whether it works or doesn't work.
Yeah, I think that's sometimes what family needs as well. Today we're talking about our confidence inspiring other people, but actually sometimes that's the people that you look after or care need that as well, don't they?
I have to agree with Jill. For myself, it was my mum. My mum always pushed me to do things, and I guess she saw qualities in me that I didn't see in myself. And when I was younger, I used to think, gosh, she's so pushy. but she used to be like, Bayile, do this, Bayile, do this. And she actually said to me, Bayile, have you ever thought about social entrepreneurship? And I was like, what is that? And then the next time I saw her, it was like a week later, she had 2 social entrepreneurs in her living room. And they told me how they set up their business. And I tried it out and I was too scared. But my mum just kept going, Bayile, you can do it. Like, I see you. You've got the qualities. And she's always been like that. From a very young age, she was always like that.
Oh, that's amazing. What about yourself, Jo?
When I was growing up, my parents had their own business, and but interestingly enough, I grew up with 2 brothers, and my dad would always make me do the same things as he did. And I remember being about 14 or 15, and getting ready to go out, as you do. You're all dressed up, and I said, "Oh, can I get a lift to the bus stop?" Because we lived quite far away from where I wanted to go. And he said, "Not until you have helped me to plumb in this sink." And at the time, I remember thinking, I am ready to go out. I cannot believe my dad is asking me to help plumb in a sink. And that was the deal. So I had to help him. I mean, I don't think I helped a great deal, but I watched. And I think my parents both gave me a confidence to think, there's actually nothing that should stop you. You should think of yourself as an equal, because I mean, even now, and I'm sure that I speak for all of us to say that there is still a level of misogyny within business, and you do have to work so hard to get, I mean, we shouldn't be having to say this, but we do still have to work so hard to make sure that we're seen as equals across the board. And yeah, so I think my mum and dad, in it, they always pushed me. But funnily enough, just the other week, something happened that really, I suppose it was that moment I was thinking, gosh, you've been a real inspiration. And it was my brother. And he's a couple of years younger than me. So he's 51. And he still goes out and does mad mountain bike races. And I knew he was doing this race, and it was him, and there was 2 of them in the team. And I'd phoned him the next day and said, "How did you get on?" And they went, "Oh, well, it was an interesting day. It was a 10-hour race they were doing, and they had basically 5 hours each." He said, "Well, I got round the first corner and I hit a tree with my bike, and so I had to run back to the start and get this bit fixed on my bike." And I thought, "Oh, that's really quite, that was hard work." And then he said, "Well, yeah, it was." I said, and then I was about 2 hours in, and I came off the bike. And I went down this bit of gravel, and I basically shredded my shoulder and my knee, and we got back up. And me and my partner got back up, and we both kept going. He said we had been in the lead, but we were second again. He said, "But then eventually we won." And I'm thinking, how did you do that? I would have been that first challenge. I think I wouldn't have had the tenacity and sheer grit to keep going. And I just looked at him, and he then sent me pictures of his injuries, and I thought, oh my goodness, there is no chance. I would have been howling at the corner, getting a glass of champagne to calm my nerves or something, but he didn't, and he kept going. And I just thought to myself, sometimes it's the small things that make you realize how much someone has inspired you. And for me, it was definitely my wee brother. He's a great guy, just works really hard to get where he is, and just does it without complaint. So yeah, I guess family is for me too.
Oh, amazing. Sarah, what about yourself?
For me, motivation is a double-edged sword, and it's interesting, the conversation about family. So I need to caveat this with my dad loves me, and my dad has come from a place where education was the most important thing, but nothing was good enough. It was the kind of if you came home and you had an A, it was like, why is it not an A+? And actually what that motivated me to do was to not do anything I was going to fail at. So it motivated me to making lots of decisions to do things that I knew that I was already going to be good at. And looking back now, there are things I missed out on because I wouldn't have been that good. Even when I went to university, I studied English and history because I was good at them at school. Like, I didn't even think to look at anything broader than that. In terms of positive motivation, my first line manager, and the interesting thing about that is that she was 24 and I was 22. So there wasn't much between us in terms of experience, in terms of age. It was her first job, really. And what she did was give me the space and the freedom, but also lots of guardrails and encouragement. And we had a lot of high fives in our workplace, and we had posters on the wall. And it was a purpose-driven business. And I didn't realize until I years later went to work somewhere else, just how important the purpose was to my motivation and my wanting to get up in the morning and go into a job where I wasn't looking at my watch. An interesting thing that comes up in our work is when you give people feedback, it can be quite demotivating sometimes, and sometimes it can motivate. And one of the differences the research has shown is if you say to someone, I'm giving you this feedback because I believe in you, then it's more likely to motivate them to do better. And you could give them, like the research was done, exactly the same feedback. The only difference was this little line at the end, I'm giving it to you because I believe in you. And I think that's what she had. She had such a belief in me that just made me rise, without her kind of ever really doing that in an intentional way.
You know, that's so true, and that rings true with me as well. The person that inspired me was in probably my second job, and I had a manager and he was brilliant. And I totally messed up doing something, completely messed up, and it could potentially lost the company a lot of money. And when I went to tell him, it took me quite a while to, you know, build up the courage to go and tell him. And he was so fine with it. He's just like, okay, it's happened. What do we do now? And I didn't know what to do now, but we talked through options and fixed it, and it turned out completely fine. But the way he dealt with things, and it was almost 20 years ago now, the way he dealt with it with me has inspired me in the way I act around people and what I say now as well. So it's funny, you know, just that management side of things as well can be such a massive inspiration. Danielle.
You know, as everyone's been saying this, I've been thinking, oh my word, how do I filter this down? Because everyone's provoking other people who've really inspired me. I want to talk about two women in one story. So my English teacher when I was 12, who I actually dedicated my second book to, and I was able, she's got motor neuron disease, I was able to take it to her and show it to her just like last year, which was really special. And she taught me to public speak, among many other things. And she said, like, rehearse for hours and hours. And I love to debate and all of those things. And she was just incredibly skilled at it, but so loving and lighthearted and fun that you just wanted to hang around her, you know? And the reason it's so important, not least because that's kind of what I do now, partly for a living. In my sort of second job, I was a secretary. When I left uni, the only thing I could do was type fast. That's what people wanted to employ me for, because I'd done data entry. And I ended up in this organization where it was Joe was talking about misogyny, it was in construction. And I was the sidekick to the managing director's PA. So like I really was nobody, but people had worked out I was fairly smart. And they hired a head of learning and development, which was unheard of at the time. And she was Scottish. And because it was all blokes, she decided that I was quite smart and she would like test her ideas with me. So she'd take me for coffee, she would test her ideas. And she was due to present the first ever appraisal system in the company to 2 partners conferences, people coming from all over the world. And the second conference, she was called to be a witness at a trial. She couldn't get out of it. And they were going to put the group operations manager on the stage. And just remember, I'm still a sidekick to the managing director's PA here. And she went in to see the managing director and she said, put Danielle on stage. And he said, I mean, literally, he said, are you having a laugh? She's like the sidekick to my PA. And she said, put her on stage. She knows it better than anybody else. And I promise you. And somebody told me afterwards, she put her job on the line. She said, if she's no good, you can fire me. And so I ended up on stage teaching all these partners who had previously seen me as the tea maker, essentially. And the next day, my boss just pulled me into his office and he said, well, what are we going to do with you then? And that was the the rocket for my career. And so without those 2 women, you know, beautiful golden thread, really.
Amazing. Oh, that's a brilliant stories. And Lee, finally, yourself, who inspired you in your early career or even when you were younger?
The same as everyone else, a lot of influence from my family, my gran. Someone talked about their gran. My gran was an incredibly feisty woman who would never claim to be a feminist, but she absolutely was. And she grew up, she lost both her parents when she was really young. She was brought up by her auntie. They lived in poverty, they didn't have anything. So she left school at 14 and managed to get credit in a time where credit didn't exist because you needed a man. So I remember her talking, they slept on a mattress on the floor, they didn't have a bed, she shared a mattress with her auntie, and she went off to get credit, and she was like, there isn't a man, so I need some money and I'll pay you every week. So my gran taught me that impossible things are possible, and she was just an absolute powerhouse of a woman. You wouldn't want to mess with her. And career-wise, I'm listening to other people talking about purpose, and my background's community work. I worked in the third sector, and I had an amazing boss, Margot, who I worked alongside her in addictions, and again, she was just an absolute force of nature. And very early on in my job there, she was taking me out to lecture at the university, the social work degree, on how alcoholism and drug addiction might impact on social work. And it's just a really good opportunity to do new things and push your boundaries. And Margot retired a few years ago to become a local radio DJ, which I think is just a lovely alternative career. So yeah, that's some of my influences.
Amazing. It's a nice mix there of different influences. So that's looking back when we were younger, but where are you now? So where you are in your careers just now, is it the same people influencing you, or is there something new? For me, actually, one of the things that influenced me, and this sounds not in a negative way, is actually the volume of people that are in roles are incompetent. Makes me think, actually, we can all do this. And I was thinking about it the other day, because I have a friend, and she's brilliant, but she's amazing in interviews, and she talks about it herself, how good she is at getting jobs, but she never stays anywhere long. And it was quite funny, and it was a comical conversation, but it does make you think, you know what, we can all do this. And you know, the guy I talked about before, the manager I had when I was younger, I still talk about him at every event I go to, because when I think back, actually, I never realised at the time what an inspiration he was. But where are you now? So obviously, in all our careers, we have a level of inspiring other people, whether it's your staff, clients, or whoever it is. Who's motivating you now? And I want to add in another bit to this as well, which I didn't pre-prep you for, but how do you inspire others? So looking at who's motivated you through your childhood, your early career, what motivates you now, and how do you pass that on to others? So I'm going to start with Bayile.
Heather, my sister once wrote in a birthday card years ago, and I always remember this. She said, "You're the sum total of everyone you've ever met." And I feel as if, like, people that I meet or know from a distance inspire me. So I remember, I don't know how many years ago, and I'll get the number maybe soon, but I remember seeing Jill saying that she was doing an MBA, I think at Stirling University, something that I've been inspired to do. And I remember thinking, gosh, there's Jill, single mum, doing a job, and she's at Stirling University doing an MBA. And I thought, that's so inspirational. And I held that in my heart. And then even Lee, like with her fire walking, I've only known Lee for the past few months. And I thought, well, it's an impossible thing, but if people can do it, then I can do it. And Lee does it all the time. And then the thing that actually inspires me about Lee is she gets people to walk on Lego. And we know how painful walking on Lego is. I just think that is so inspirational, to get people to walk on Lego. And then, yeah, we've got, as Zara said, Danielle. When I met Danielle, and I hadn't even met her, I was just on her course, on her program, and I thought, oh, this woman is so inspirational. I would sit there once a month on a Thursday. I think, Zara, you and me were in the same cohort. And we would sit there and think, this is so inspirational. And then when you actually get 5 minutes or 1 hour, and I was fortunate to spend like 4 hours with Danielle last month in Birmingham, I just thought, you really, really inspire me. And then I've got my 6-year-old who's next door, and he's not walked in yet. He inspires me because he just thinks that he can do anything. And I always say, like, start each day like a session. a Batman costume because he thinks he can jump off the couch and nothing will break. And he just gets up and just goes, I'm okay. And he keeps doing that over and over and over again because he believes one day he will fly, he will do something. And yeah, those are just some examples of people who inspire me on a daily basis.
That's amazing. And how do you then pass that on? So that inspiration that you've got from other people, obviously Bayile, in your role, you need to inspire a lot of people, particularly if they are struggling to get forward in their careers. How do you pass that on? What's like your top tip there?
Do you know, I always tell that story about a 6-year-old, and I always, there's a picture actually of Micah in a Batman uniform when he was in a Batman costume when he was 4. And I always say that, like, if you start your day like a 6-year-old in a Batman costume who will do the impossible, who believes that they can do the impossible, when you take that costume off them, they kind of go back to normal. And I tend to use his example quite a lot, and I'll use his picture quite a lot. But then also just inspiring people with just being authentic and vulnerable, with just sharing experiences. I think we're people of relationships, we love community, and we love to hear, gone are the days of this fakeness. We want to see the real thing. We want to know how you got there, not just the tip of the iceberg. We want to know what's underneath the iceberg. And I tell people, I show them my back stairs, and I hope that always inspires.
I think I can completely agree in that. I think people want to know that real people can do well as well. We see people in the press and the news all the time that are at the top of their careers, and they seem so far away, but actually we've all started, different backgrounds, but we've all started at the start somewhere.
We all wipe our own butts,
Danielle,
right? I always think about famous people, like everyone's wiping their own butt at the end of the day. You got to remember that.
Yes, everybody's normal. We're all the same.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, I am inspired by what the heck we are on this planet for. Like, that's the question that just has me so fascinated all the time. So I describe myself as a cosmic explorer. Like, my life is in every way dedicated to, like, I'm a bunch of atoms been put together for a tiny amount of time on a planet that's been spinning for billions of years. What the hell for? Like, and I haven't got it for very long, so I better play. I better play, and I better not get sucked into all the garbage that life tries to tell me is how I'm supposed to do it. And so I am inspired by anyone who wants to talk about that stuff. Like, I mean, seriously, who made humans to have like dangly things on the end of these? I mean, it's nonsense. Just look at that. It doesn't make, who came up with that, right? And so I'm always wanting to be with people who find that a really playful and fun conversation. And I'm really blessed because I get paid then to teach what I find. And I set up a business to do that. So I'm in this constant circle of what can I go and discover? Who's got a little bit of the puzzle, knowing that I'm never going to solve the whole mystery of why we're on this planet. Who's got a bit of the puzzle? Who thinks differently? Who's gone to play somewhere I haven't? And then I come back and share it, because when I share it, I land it in me. And so the more I can talk about what I've found, the more I get it for me as well. So it's like a vicious, and everyone's got a bit, just to hear Bayile today talk about get your Batman costume on, that just fills me with delight, because I'm just like, I was with somebody recently. I was on a retreat and as a client, and we were flying back from where we were, and she was about to sleep on the floor at Stansted Airport because she had a 4-hour turnaround. And I said, well, just come and share my hotel room. I mean, I'd known her for a week, right? So this is a bit mental. I don't normally do this. I swear to God, we get to this Holiday Inn and she pulls out her nightdress, which is a Wonder Woman outfit.
That's brilliant. Love it.
It just was it made me so happy.
Oh, that is so good. I absolutely love that. I think it's right. I think this costume, I'm going to a festival this weekend and it's 80s themed. And the festival's got nothing to do with 80s. They've just decided it's an 80s theme. And I've gone and bought all the tat of the day to dress up. And I cannot wait And I was born in the 80s. I don't remember the 80s, but I'm so excited to pretend that I am out partying in the 80s. And I think, Bayile, it's so true. You can just, even if you're not feeling confident in that moment, you can put on, you know, that costume or that facade that you need at that time to get through different things.
I'm going to jump in here on the theme of costumes. When I'm delivering Lego walks, I've got capes and masks for people to wear when they're doing the Lego walks. And Bayile, you're talking about, oh, you can walk on fire, but actually Lego's worse. When I first introduced the Lego walk, I was promoting it as it's horrific, and I realised that that might not be the right marketing strategy for Lego walks. So now it's branded as a superhero walk. So you find your own superheroes, but actually wearing a cape and mask makes people feel a bit more invincible. So great.
So Lee, what inspires you now? And like, obviously you do a workshop before any of the walks that they do, because you know you need to get people to do them. So what inspires you now, and how do you pass that on to people?
Yeah, I'm really interested in fear. I think fear and self-doubt are the two biggest things in our lives that keep us stuck, and the whole workshop explores fear and the things that we say to ourselves, the things that we do to ourselves, the excuses that we make for, I can't do that because my family might not approve, or whatever. So it really delves in deep to fear, and I believe that I do that by being authentic and vulnerable myself, and sharing a bit about my own story and how I went from finding my confidence at the bottom of a bottle to teaching people to walk on fire. And I think it's really important for people to be real wherever we are in our lives. It was interesting when I seen everyone else's bios for today. I was like, yeah, I don't have any awards. I'm probably a bit inappropriate, but actually that's how I think I'm really effective at work, that I'm a bit inappropriate and give too much information. So yeah.
You totally deserve to be here. That is why you were asked. And actually, I think what's quite nice, what I picked up on there, is that your own story is what you help to use to inspire you and others. And I think that's something really powerful, to be able to look at your own journey and go, you know what, look where I've come, and actually celebrate ourselves, because we are not good at doing that in Britain at all. It's just we're not very good at it. Sarah, what about yourself? What inspires you now, and how do you pass that on?
So my motivation / inspiration has changed significantly. And actually it was due in a huge part to my marriage breaking down 18 months after 18 months after the wedding. And it felt like someone had come along and just shaken the snow globe. And I remember a while later being a talk about, it was the environment actually, and they mentioned this topic called kintsukuroi. I think there's different names, but it's the Japanese art of mending broken pottery with gold.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting there going, oh my God, that's what I'm trying to do. Like, I've got this broken mess of my life here. Do I want to cobble it together into some semblance of a shadow of what I thought it was going to be, or do I want to meaningfully and intentionally rebuild it? And that's what I was trying to do, but I wasn't able to articulate it. So actually I have a picture like that, and it reminds me that I am, none of us are in control of anything, but actually I am in control of how I choose to face things. I'm not as destination focused as I used to be. Unfortunately, I'm still quite motivated by external validation, but I am working on that. I find being a CEO has been a real eye-opener on that, because there's nobody to say, oh, you're doing a really good job, you know, and you have to find that yourself. And I had my own business for 8 years, and that was also quite, well, no one's noticing that I'm doing well. You know, people trying to find that motivation within myself. Personally, I've noticed it's interesting as well, because I used to be very focused on how I looked and sort of keeping up with the Joneses, not in a material sense, but I was one of those people that wanted to make everything look effortless, like an effortless this, effortless that. And actually now I'm much more motivated by sharing the effort that goes in behind things. In terms of my body, I used to go to the gym and I used to swim and I used to run, and it was mostly for how it would make me look on the outside. And again, going through some personal traumatic things, someone recommended that I run, and I was like, I don't think I can run. And she said, you know what, when you're running, you can't cry. And I was like, oh, okay. So then I had like 3 minutes a day, because I could only run for 3 minutes, where I wasn't crying. And then gradually I got to a point where I was running half marathons. And now I'm motivated by wanting to be strong. I turned 40 last year, and I have got this body for the rest of my journey here. So I want to be strong, and I want to be flexible, and I want to feel powerful and healthy. On the end, like I want that to be true. I don't just want people to think it of me, but I'm doing that in really unhealthy ways, maybe binging or purging or whatever that might be. Actually, I want it to be true, and I don't really care if anybody else thinks that of me. So I do find getting older, my motivation has changed, and there's not a single person. I'm very motivated by individual conversations with people. And in terms of how I pass it on, it's a really difficult thing, because I don't think I feel comfortable saying, oh, I'm an inspirational person, or I try and inspire. But the feedback that I get from people is that it's my energy and it's my honesty that people relate to in some way. So I try to keep that open, even though at the time, sometimes you don't want to be honest, but I will try to look back to people and kind of share. So for example, I am fairly open with, I've got mentees and other people in the sector, and I talk about my salary quite openly, because I think women don't talk about money enough. But it's just like a small example. If I can talk about what I earn as a charity CEO, actually, like, it's quite controversial, because people sometimes don't think you should earn anything if you work for a charity. But
Hard job.
People don't think you should earn anything when you have a business.
But if I don't tell other women, they will go into these negotiations and think, oh, well, that's reasonable because that's what they're offering me. So trying to be in a way that keeps my organisation safe and keeps me safe, trying to share really practical tips as well that will give people a little bit of motivation that they are on the right track.
That's amazing. Do you know what I think? Isn't it interesting that you come to a point in your life where actually having confidence in yourself and your ability to do things and being happy with yourself helps you to motivate yourself and others as well. And it stops being about, and I think that when you were saying that you needed that external, gratitude almost. I'm 100% like that. And I have been up until now, and I still need that now and again. I think as females, there's a lot of imposter syndrome out there, which, like, I know my boyfriend laughs, he's like, what's that? You just go and do your job. And I'm like, it's not as easy as that. But I think, particularly as females, we do need that kind of, that you're doing fine, you're doing well from other people. I think that's perfectly normal. But yeah, I think finding that confidence in yourself, for yourself, is really important.
I would like to recommend the Barbie movie. This might sound controversial, but I went to see it last night. And honestly, like, there's bits that I'm like, I want to record that so I can actually like share it. She talks about the challenges of being a woman in the modern world, and I would highly recommend it. Although my sister then said, so she was like, some of her male friends afterwards were like, I don't get it. And I was like, you cannot mansplain the Barbie movie. Like, you've entirely missed the point about a movie about the patriarchy. I think you need to go back and watch it again.
That's brilliant. I can't wait to see it. I'm so excited. I've heard such mixed reviews, but I'm super excited to see it. Jo, what about yourself?
I'm absolutely loving listening to these stories. It's incredible. And I kind of think, how can I compare or talk about what inspires me when I've got these amazing inspirational women sitting here talking? But I guess, it's funny when we talk about as you become older and the things that inspire you and how you inspire others. And I remember, I guess it's failures, I think, are the things, certainly for me, that have inspired me and given me confidence. And I guess in a roundabout way, talking about being single mum, I was a single mum myself. And I remember driving up from London, having lived down there for just over a year, with my son in the car and nothing. I mean, literally nothing, a duvet, and coming up to the Highlands up here. And it was like a starting all over again. And a lot of times now I think back to that and I think, you know, that having to come through something like that and reinvent yourself and dig in deep and getting the confidence to get yourself back on your feet, it's not something to hide and it's not something to shy away from. And it's back to that idea of being authentic and telling your own story, because I think when you tell your own story that isn't this lovely, you know, sugar-coated social media, all the wonderful things, but when you tell your own story and the struggles that you've had and how difficult it has been, and that you don't get up every day looking great and you don't get up every day and things are really rosy. And I think when you can be authentic, talk about how difficult things are, talk about the struggles and the difficulties, I think that in itself inspires people, because they don't then expect life to be this bed of roses and feel a failure themselves. So I suppose in a roundabout way, what I'm trying to say is that failure, sharing your failures and celebrating failure is in a lot of ways what inspires me and hopefully helps inspire other people.
100%. Jill?
I want to tie in just on the back of what Jodie was saying, and Bayile will probably remember this because it happened very, very recently. It was just yesterday. A lady, Angela McKillop, I think her name was, her article was in the Daily Record just the other day, and the headline that they went with was "Single Mum from Council Estate rebuilds after £5.1 million business loss." And the whole article was negative, right until the very end. And this happened to this lady's business back in 2016, actually, and she's rebuilt 2 successful businesses after this. But the comments in the comment section was just so negative, so personally hard-hitting at this woman, that I thought, I can't sit here and say nothing. So I opened my mouth, me and my big mouth, Bayile. What did that get me? That got me dragged by quite a few people, because I had said that in life and in business, when you have a failure, actually having the confidence and the transparency and the honesty to talk about that failure not only helps you get over that failure and go forward and succeed, but it sends lessons to other people that are maybe going through the same thing. Way back in the day, there was a business club called the Entrepreneurial Exchange, which I was obsessed with. I didn't meet the criteria to get in there. You had to have a business, I think it was a profit margin of £1 million at the time, and I wasn't hitting that way back then. I wasn't even getting in to make the tea in that place. But I'm friends with a lot of the guys that were in the Entrepreneurial Exchange now, and actually my business partner was the chairman of the Entrepreneurial Exchange, and you'll laugh because he's next door just now getting a hair transplant. And again, all of these things tie back into confidence, because it's having the confidence to do the things that you actually want to do. The question that you had asked, I have got so many things I want to cover in this, so I'm going to rattle through them, and hopefully I won't talk too long and we'll be able to go with it. I'd said originally my main motivation was my grandmother. She passed away a few years ago, sadly before I opened St Helens. I had Cosmedicare, but the actual main hospital hadn't opened by that point. But I was telling her I was going to do it, and it must have sounded like I needed a hospital at that point. I was going to get sectioned in a mental hospital before I was going to build a hospital with no money. And I'm very honest that when I went to start building St Helens Hospital, I didn't have the money to cover it. I paid for that thing like an Argos catalogue, monthly instalments until it was done. And I tell these stories because I want people to know that you can do this. Like, these things are not impossible. And the people that motivate me now are my team. So we have quite a heavily male-dominated team. They're all senior consultants, they hold NHS posts. We've got 10 consultant plastic surgeons, 13 consultant anaesthetists, 4 consultant general surgeons. I've got 50 staff that are in the building on a day-to-day basis, and they look to me to know what I'm doing. And sometimes I don't know what I'm doing, but I have the confidence to say, right, I don't know the answer to this problem. Let's sit down, let's work this out. And I have the confidence in myself to be able to take on board what other people are saying. Gabriella, who is my right-hand woman, she's been with me from the year after Cosmedicare started. She walked out of Transform, which was the biggest cosmetic surgery provider in the UK at that point. She had a wee bit of a Jerry Maguire moment and walked out, and she was taking the fish. 2 weeks after she did that, I was handed notice from the hospital that I was operating in and had nowhere to operate, which is a bit of a problem when your whole business operates around an operating theatre. And I remember the guy who was the hospital manager at that place at that time said to me, "What do you bring to the table?" And I thought, well, if you, I'll bring the bloody table, I'll build my own. And off I went and built a hospital. Built it very quickly, and I couldn't have done that without Gabriella and the team that were with me. So Ian Lang, who's one of the most senior anaesthetists in Scotland, he's one of my medical directors. Dan Widdowson, Will Anderson, 2 senior consultant surgeons, and all of the surgeons that came after that, because they took a punt on me, because there was a lot of people in the industry going, she shouldn't be doing this, she's not a doctor, blah, blah, blah. But they thought, no, I actually believe in what she's doing, and I want to support that. And them having the confidence in me, I've never had imposter syndrome. I've got the opposite. I think I can do everything. So I'm really fortunate that I've got this team that, as much as they believe we can do anything and everything, we can't do it all at once. And the relationships that we've got, and I think that's really important about the people that inspire you, who you surround yourself with, and what you're speaking to yourself and what you're allowing other people to speak to you. That's what catapults you to the next level. And I've been doing this now, because Medicare I've been doing 8 years. But there's always a spring you need to get to the next level. And I think when you get to the point where you've achieved all your goals, and a lot of my goals were markers, they were either financial markers, I want to make 1 million, I want to make 10 million, I want to make this million. And that was my markers. But once I'd met those markers, I realized these aren't the markers that I should be going with, because you would get a sense of satisfaction out of those markers for maybe a week. And then you're like, right, okay, what am I doing next? What's the next goal? What am I doing? So the other week I was jumping on a plane to go away to Eindhoven to look at an MRI suite. And I'm thinking, do I actually want an MRI suite, or am I doing this because it's the next thing to tick on this box? And I'm really, really fortunate with the team, with the people around about me, that we can sit down and have those conversations, and they can be honest with their input about where we should be going next and what we should be doing. But I think one of the things that I'm very conscious of, and it ties back to Bayile and I on the Daily Record giving handers to Angela McKillop the other day, I realise that I've got an element of responsibility. Like I think Lee was saying about winning awards and everything else, and yeah, the awards and the accolades are great, but they also come with a lot of criticism and pressure to keep up that level. And I'm quite a private person, but I really liked what Zara said about talking about money, which I think is something particularly in business that women don't do. And when you look at social media, particularly in an influencer generation, these lifestyles are portrayed, and you think these people are living the life and they're making all this money and they're happy. Money doesn't make you happy. That social media presence doesn't make you happy. And a lot of the time, success doesn't actually make you happy either. So you need to be really understanding why you're doing what you're doing. And this interview, this forum today, I've been thinking about it for the last week, and I'm like, well, what am I actually motivated by? And it's about inspiring change and delivering change and picking the next challenge that's not about me or what goal I'm trying to hit. It's really now about helping other people access healthcare, helping other people make changes in their life that they want to make, giving opportunities, and leading by example, so that younger people coming up, especially people from disadvantaged backgrounds, can see that you don't necessarily need a university degree. I didn't go to university until I was 24. I didn't do my MBA until I was about, I don't even know what age I was. I had a failed business when I did that MBA. I'd ended up really, really ill because I trusted the wrong person. And these are lessons that you learn. And that was one of the reasons I liked Angela sharing her story in the Daily Record. And I think that's something that we should really promote, that people should share, warts and all, like you guys were saying, about being honest about the journey and the setbacks and everything else that comes with it. Lee, I want to come on your course because I spent half my life now walking in eggshells, so Lego sounds like a good trade-off for that, so I think I'll come and do that. But the final thing that inspires me is myself, because what I've been able to do shows me that I can show other people that they can do it, but it also allows me to be authentically me. And I'm a bit of an oddball, and I'm a bit strange, and I think a wee bit differently. And as much as I'm in here today and I'm in business dress, a lot of the times I come into work with my hair up in the bun and leggings and a t-shirt on. I had a surgical assistant the other day sitting talking to me in the kitchen, and I was making him a cup of tea, and he'd never met me before. And he actually said, he's like, oh, I'm really, really excited to meet Jill. She seems like an absolute powerhouse. And I'm like, I'm Jill. What are you talking about? I think he thought I was the cleaner. And I'm like, I'm quite happy for you to think I'm the cleaner. I'll get my hands dirty, I do everything. And I think that's another key thing as well. Don't buy into your own hype. remember where you came from, where you're going, and all the things that matter. And that is the things that kind of inspire me to keep going and do something different.
Oh, that's amazing. So I am very aware of time. I reckon we could all sit here and chat for another hour or two. However, I've got one question here that I want to put to you that has come in from Louise Harkis, and literally a quick round the table with your answers on this one, okay? Can you give one bit of advice to someone considering starting their own business? So I'm going to start with Jo.
I would say absolutely go for it, and do not be afraid to ask for help, because whilst a lot of time you feel that you have to be this powerhouse all the time, there are so many people out there who will gladly help you if you have any questions, especially if they're female, I'd say.
Excellent. Lee.
I would say to not overthink it. Whatever your idea is, do it now. Do it with whatever you've got. Just start, because once you've started, you can take the next big leap. And everything that Jodie was saying about asking for help and getting support and learning as you go, but just start, and start now.
Danielle.
I'm going to say, and like Jill, I've had a failed business as well as one that's done well. I am going to say this, be in it for the long game and not the short one. Like, there is no silver bullet out there. Do not buy into all the lines that say, do this course and you'll be sorted within 6 months' time. It is not true. And it's meant with great intention, right? But the silver bullet is time, in my opinion. It's time and getting up every day and doing one little bit every day. And so don't be disheartened if the year anniversary kicks in and you're not where you thought you were going to be, because none of us were. And stay in it for the long game.
Perfect. Bayile.
I would say surround yourself with a great support system. Being in business is really hard, and you need the right people around you. You're going to have really, really low days, and you need friends and family that will say, get up, don't be silly, you can do this, you can keep going. Because most people see businesses and they're quite intimidating, and they might say to you, actually, yeah, that's not a good idea. So make sure you find yourself great friends and family, and even reach out to people that you don't know. That will just help motivate you.
Zara?
I think for me, I had my business, I fell into it by accident, and then when I sold it, I was actually really relieved. And I think my advice would be to make sure you've got enough in it that you're going to enjoy most days, because it can be lonely and the rewards might not. You need to make your own rewards. So for me, the thing I loved was my customers. So I made sure that I had lots of customer interaction, because that meant the things that I didn't enjoy, particularly when you're starting out, you have to do everything. You're always saying you're making the tea, you have to do everything. So there'll be some bits that are really comfortable for you, and there'll be other bits that aren't. So bring people in to, as soon as you can, to help you with things you can't, but just make sure that you're not going through a trudge in the hope of some nirvana that's going to come 5 years or 10 years down the line, because actually you might not get there. Or, and that sounds quite negative, but for me, that's the advice. That's the advice, is making sure that you're enjoying what you're doing on a daily basis. So whether or not you end up there, or whether you end up there, like, that's almost like the icing on the cake.
Yeah.
You're getting something from most days in your business.
Amazing. And Jill?
Mine's is quite practical. So when you're going into business, there's a lot of things that you don't know. You don't have a magic crystal ball that you can look into and see into the future. I think the things that you do need to know is you need to know your market. You need to know your customers. You need to know how you're different and how you're going to bring something different to that industry. You need to know your numbers, because ultimately, if you want to succeed in business, you need to know how much is coming in, how much is going out, when it's coming in, what the profit margins are, and what you need to do to succeed in that. But you also need to know when to stop. And that can be a really difficult thing to do, especially if you've invested so much time and effort and everything. But I guarantee you, continuing to try and make something work when it's not working is the most disheartening thing ever. And knowing when to stop and go, I'm going to go and do something else, will be the biggest, best lesson you will ever learn. And it will save you so much time, so much heartache, and lead you to where you're meant to be.
Amazing. And for me, just following on from what Jill said there as well, is that, yeah, you do not know what's coming up in business. You don't know what little curveballs are going to be thrown at you. Dare I mention COVID? So don't wait until you've got enough money, you've got enough time, because if you knew that everything that was coming, you don't have enough money and enough time ever. You just pivot and change as you go along. So I am very aware of time. I know a couple of our panelists have to drop off in a couple of minutes. So just to finish off, I want to go round the table and ask everyone, what is your favourite inspiring or confidence quote? If anyone, then I'm going to go to the people I know that have to drop off early. Please feel free to drop off if you need to, and I'll just finish up at the end. So Lee, I'm going to start with you. Give us your favourite quote.
Yeah, my favourite quote is, every adventure starts with a first step. And given what I do for a living, I think, it's pertinent to firewalking, but it's pertinent to everything in our life. If it's in your head and you're not taking action, it's just a dream. You need to take action for it to be reality. So thank you so much for having me. I'm going to shoot off because I'm actually going to the airport now. And I'll see you all soon. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Lee. Thank you. Bayile.
Mine actually comes from the Bible. It's, for with God nothing shall be impossible. And I just noted, Jill said anything is possible. And I think I can do everything. Lee had actually said impossible things are possible. And I think, Jill, you also said we can all do this. So it's great to just reinforce that nothing is impossible.
Amazing. Danielle.
Such a hard question because I'm like a quote machine. So all the way through this, I've been like, which one am I going to give? Which one am I going to give? So then I realized I was wearing it on my shirt. So I'm going to give you this one. If your definition of success doesn't have the word love in it, get another definition.
Yes, I like that. Amazing. Jo.
Mine is a dream written down with a date becomes a goal broken down into steps become a plan, and a plan backed by actions makes your dreams come true. That was Gregory.
I love it. Excellent. Zara.
Mine's a bit longer, but I don't think I have to explain it. It's from the Velveteen Rabbit, and they're talking about becoming real. And the rabbit asks, does it hurt? Sometimes, said the skin horse, for he was always truthful. When you are real, you don't mind being hurt. Does it happen all at once, like being wound up, or bit by bit? It doesn't happen all at once, said the skin horse. You become. It takes a long time. That's why it doesn't happen often to people who break easily, or who have sharp edges, or who have to be carefully kept. Generally, by the time you are real, most of your hair will have been loved off, your eyes drop out, and you get loose in the joints and very shabby. But those things don't matter at all, because once you are real, you can't be ugly, except people who don't understand.
I've never heard that. I love that. Amazing. Thank you so much. Jill.
I've got two, and they're short. The first one's a Benjamin Franklin one, and it's fail to plan and plan to fail. And that's just kind of always reminding me, keep the eye on what's coming next. And it's not about planning in business, it's about planning for yourself, how you're going to deal with things. And the other one's a Ouija one. It's shy wains don't get any sweeties. So women really need to know to ask for what they want. But the bit I add on to the end of that is, if you're going to take with one hand, you better be giving with the other hand, because everything comes back to karma. If you do the right thing, you'll not go far wrong. And that's the two that I live by.
Amazing, ladies. Thank you so much for being part of the panel. It's been amazing listening to all of you. Just for everyone that's watching, there is a lot of comments in the Facebook chat. I've tried to keep up with it, but ladies, go and have a look. It's really inspiring, and you've inspired a lot of people with your chat today. For moving forward, our next event, Scottish Women in Business, we've got our coffee meetup on the 1st of August. We have Find Your Motivation, Your Marketing Motivation with Nikki Hutchison on the 30th, and that's on Zoom. Into September, we've got our next coffee meetup, which is on Zoom on the 5th. And then I'm super excited for Claire Nelson is doing a motivation and inspiration talk and lunch, and that is on the 13th of September, as well as this 26th of September, we've got Laurie McPherson doing LinkedIn training. So busy few months ahead with lots of events. They're all on the website. Have a look. Again, thank you so much for everybody that's been watching. Thank you to our panel. We'll now put this onto YouTube and share it on all other platforms. Ladies, I'll tag you in. Please share away. And yeah, hopefully we'll see you all at future SWIB events, be it as a guest or a speaker.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for
Thanks,
having
ladies.
us.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Thank
Bye.
you.